Hello guys, I wanted to come on here and explain how I became a Wim Hof Method instructor, the trials and tribulations that it took to get here. And my intention is for you to maybe take pieces of this, see if you can relate to myself, and maybe it can inspire you to begin your journey of becoming a better version of yourself. And I like to start and say that I am still overcoming so much and learning every day, and this method and other things I've done are leading me to a person that I've always dreamed of, but I'm still learning and there's still lots of growth, but we're on action. So my name's Merrill Cushman. I am 24 years old. I am from originally a small town called Millis, and I grew up 45 minutes southwest of Boston in the United States of America. Estados Unidos. I guess I like to start my journey when I was a child, because when I think about it, it actually really has a lot to do with where I end up being. So when I was a child, I was fascinated by, number one, I remember my father came home one day and he showed me Star Wars. I was about 5 or 6, and I was completely fascinated in this world. I was so enthralled by this idea of the Force. In the Star Wars films, the sagas, it's battle between good and evil, and on the good side, you have the Jedi, and the Jedi use what's called the Force. The dark side of the Force uses the dark side of the Force. But the Force, I've listened to George Lucas, and he's talking about how it relates to a lot of like Buddhism and Zen philosophy, but it's the idea that everything is connected, and kind of like Taoism or Taoism, how everything's connected and we're part of this multi-layered universe within itself. And what I like about the Jedi is they use the power of love. Yo, can I be a Jedi? Can I be supernatural? Can I be a hero? And that was the other thing. Beyond Star Wars, I was in my spare time watching movies like any other kid, and I don't know, I was really inspired and thought to myself, can I be my own hero? That hero's journey. I always wanted to make my life a movie. Those are two things. Being interested in Force, supernatural, can I be a Jedi, and can I be my own hero? When I was a kid, I went to the Museum of Science in Boston with my father around 7 or 8 years old, and there's this theater called the Omni Theater. And when you walk in, it's a half dome shaped theater, and the screen is going up around you and above you. So it's very immersive. And keep in mind, I'm just like this wide-eyed kid, and we end up watching this, I think it was like a National Geographic documentary. I was so fascinated by what these guys were doing. They were at the Galapagos Islands, scuba diving in these amazing environments underwater, drone shots of these beautiful lush rainforests and waterfalls, mountains. I mean, it just occurred to me, I was like, dude, I want to do that when I'm older. I don't know how to do this, but like, I want to do that. Go through middle school, high school, grade school. On the outside, like, life is great. I had great friends. I went to amazing public high school, played sports. Internally, it didn't really hit me until I would say when I was 15, 17, where my mental health really started coming out. I was extremely anxious and depressed. I played basketball, and I was the captain of the basketball team. And I remember there'd be times when the stress, I didn't have a good relationship with stress. The stress would get to me, and in the middle of games, I'd like freeze. I'd have panic attacks. I would not be able to think. I wouldn't be able to catch a ball. And it was just like, what's going on? I even remember one time I was walking down the hallway. This girl that was like 2 grades above me, we like made eye contact. She told me, walking the other way in the hallway, she's like, Merrill, why don't you ever like smile? You always have like a bitch face. I didn't say anything to her. I just like looked at her and kept walking, but it just hit me like, damn, why am I so unhappy? I guess that's like what other people see, and it really showed what was happening internally. I mean, when I think about what happened, I think my parents did an amazing job raising me, providing everything for me and my sister. But we all went through our own challenges as a family, and I get so many qualities from my parents: hardworking, so much passion and willpower, and so smart, but it was hard at times. And as a child, I would try to avoid or go in my imagination or just like any other kid, but all got to me when I was in high school. So kind of really come to the surface. And I remember I'd have days at school where I was just extremely out of it. I wouldn't acknowledge it though. I was like, I'm not depressed or anxious. I don't think I even had like a word for it. With that being said though, there was one thing at school besides my friends and memories and stuff. I had one teacher who I first had him when I was 12, 13. And then he ended up being my high school teacher in history, law, and philosophy. In each of one of his classes, he made you think. He made you question reality. He made you think about why you're here, who are we, what we're capable of. He would show us movies like Interstellar, and it was, again, a theme like my childhood. There's a feeling I get in this class that I can't deny. I love this stuff. I felt connected to something bigger than myself. Almost like thinking of like the force and all that. I went to college then, and I had that in the back of my mind. I ended up going to college in Tampa. It was great for me because I was leaving the familiar small town, familiar friends and family and people I know. And it gave me space to really go on this journey of self-discovery semester after semester. This happens with travel anytime, right? If you go on an adventure or you go study somewhere, or you go on a trip somewhere that you've never been, it can reveal new aspects of yourself because you're in a new environment. So I was starting to really come to grips with, maybe I have depression, maybe I have anxiety. I was starting to reflect on my experiences. I remember I'd have these moments when I was in my dorm where I was getting very introspective. I was starting to, for the first time, slowly tap into my heart, diving deep into rabbit holes on YouTube about consciousness and philosophy. What is life? I feel like it was kind of a form of escapism, but it was a good place to start for me because it was hard for me, I think, to relate to some of my friends who just weren't asking the same questions I was, which everyone's interested in everything. Like, dude, if you're extremely interested in Mozart, I can't appreciate that because I'm not really attracted to it as much as you would. That was me with those deep questions. I remember my junior year is when I really started to apply what I was intellectually consuming the last 2 years in college. I'm like, all right, let me try meditating. You're now looking at 2020. I just do like Headspace and the Calm app. And I remember I'd also wake up and listen to really inspiring music. And I was starting to see how with consistent practice, even if it's 2 weeks, you'll be surprised of how much you can change. And I was starting to think different thoughts. I was starting to actually become aware of when I would be anxious or when I'd have a thought of, oh, what does he think of me or she think of me? I was questioning, right? Is that even real for the first time? Starting to become aware of my reality. And I tell you what, it was this specific day where I was walking to my bus stop to catch my class. And I'll never forget it. I remember walking, listening to music. And for the first time in forever, I had a thought, wow, I'm actually authentically really happy right now. And it felt very unfamiliar to me, which makes sense now that I've been studying it. I've been firing and wiring the same thoughts for so long that my body has just been used to receiving the same chemicals. Because when you think of thought, that thought is a electrical message in the brain that corresponds to a signal in the brain that says, hey, fire on these specific hormones that produce that same feeling. So I was feeling the same way for so long. So when I was feeling this feeling, I'm like, damn, I'm really happy. It felt unfamiliar, but it felt like, wow, I'm making progress. And around the same time, this is around the time when I was starting to catch my flow. I was starting to like catch my mojo, I guess. And I ended up organically meeting this girl that I knew since freshman year, but we started talking more. And yeah, we started just like hanging out and everything was starting to line up. So this is January 2020 and I felt like it was a byproduct of me doing so much work. Right when everything's going so well, I'm at the top of my mindfulness practice and as what I thought it was. And I meet this girl and things are going well for the first time in my life, it feels like. And then everything just stopped and COVID hit. COVID just stopped everything. And what I thought was the best thing that ever happened to me ended up really revealing a lot of things that I had to then face the next year and a half that I'll get into in part 2. So I'll stop there on my journey and we'll continue. And the next part, I'll get into how I discovered Wim Hof. I'll get into my own little dark night of the soul, maybe even 2 of them, and how I slowly actually started to see change in myself and talk about that journey. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. It's a wrap.
Build the life of my dreams. Why wait?